Hey everyone, so today we are going to be making the Grinch character. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. He's very cute, and if you wanted to purchase the bigger pattern over here, go check that out. It's on my Etsy. But anyways, you probably came here for the Mini Grinch, and I hope you enjoy this one. Alright, let's get straight into it. For the materials, you are going to need 4-ply cotton yarn in the colors Christmas green, olive green, or the green that corresponds to the Grinch color, yellow, red, a little bit of white or cream white, as well as black. So that's the 4-ply cotton yarn that you'll need. You will also need You will also need a 1.9 millimeter hook to make this pattern that is around about 8 to 10 centimeters in height. Feel free to use anywhere between a 1.75 and a 3 millimeter hook. And if you have your own yarn and hook that you're used to, feel free to use that as well, because this pattern is universal. You will also need a pair of cutters. You will also need a leather or a sewing needle, and this one here is a leather needle just because you've got this shape at the end. Small eye for the needle, sharp point, and this just helps you get into all of those stitch spaces when you need to. You will also need some 6 or 7 millimeter black safety eyes. These are super important, although if you wanted to create your own eyes and embroider them, feel free to do so as well. And then, of course, one of the most important things, the fiber filling. So don't forget to have some with you as well. All right, let us get into it. All right, so grab your Grinch green 4-ply cotton yarn, or the yarn color that you have, and begin by making a magic ring. So if you don't know how to make a magic ring, go check out my beginner crochet tutorial playlist, where I teach you all of the little techniques that you need to know to be able to come back here and make any one of my amigurumi characters or little plushies or flowers, whatever it is. You'll be able to learn all of it. All right, so we have the magic ring. We need to now work 6 single crochet stitches inside this magic ring, and I'm just going to teach you the way that I do the single crochet stitch. The type of single crochet stitch for me is where the yarn comes underneath the hook first, and then the yarn goes over the hook second. So I'll show you that again. Yarn comes underneath the hook first, we call that yarn under, or YU, and then yarn comes over the hook to finish it off, or YO. So I use the YO technique most often, and I would suggest you do the same. You can also do the YU technique, which is yarn under, but that just helps you get these straighter and neater stitches. Again, it's a subjective opinion, personal preference. Most of you may, especially if you're a beginner, may be using the yarn over technique, and that gives you the more like V shapes, a little bit wider, with your style in making amigurumi. I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, if you want to do that, go for your life. All right, so we're going to, oh, and by the way, I've linked a video over here so you can see the differences between all of those stitch types. Let's continue on now to make the 6 single crochet stitches. We have 5 right here, and here is number 6. From here, what you want to do is you want to grab this yarn tail, and you're going to pull it. Pull nice and tightly until you close that magic ring. And then from here, you can either decide to crochet in a spiral, which I would recommend, or you can continue to crochet with a slip stitch and a chain 1, which is what I'll do here since this is a beginner crochet tutorial. But again, if you're crocheting in a spiral, which I highly recommend, don't forget to use stitch markers, and you may need to change the position of these arms when you get to it, but that shouldn't be too difficult anyway. And round number 2 is as follows. You're going to insert the hook into the very first stitch space, and then you will make something called an increase. An increase just means you're working 2 single crochet stitches inside the 1 stitch space. So right there, we now have an increase, 2 single crochet stitches in the 1 stitch space. You're going to repeat this increase technique, or not really technique, but 2 single crochet stitches, increases in every stitch space for the next however many stitches there are, which there should be 6. So at the end of this, you will have 6 increases, which means you will have 12 stitches at the end of round number 2. And round number 3 is as follows. We're going to start off with a single crochet stitch first, followed by an increase. 1, same stitch space, another single crochet, And there we go. So there is our single and then increase. And we are going to repeat this another 5 times. We'll have 6 times in total. And you will have 18 single crochet stitches at the end of round number 3. Round 3 is now complete. So for the next round, round number 4, it's a little bit different because we are incorporating a new type of stitch that you may or may not have done before. So let us work this together. You're going to start off with 5 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's the 5th, but we're going to complete this 5th single crochet stitch with red colored yarn. So grab some red colored yarn, leave a little bit of a tail, don't know if you can see that tail there, and then weave that through the 2 loops to complete stitch number 5. Now from here we are going to work something called a spike bubble stitch. So you're not coming here. Instead, you're coming 1 round below, directly below this stitch space right here. It's kind of in that increase intersection. You want to wrap the yarn first. This is how we incorporate the bubble. And then down here is where we call it the spike stitch. So we're doing those 2 things there. All right, so I want these 2 yarn tails over the hook as you complete this spike bubble stitch as well. Pull the yarn up. And then pull the yarn through 2 loops, leaving you 2 loops on the hook. And I want you to repeat this. Wrap the yarn again, come in the same stitch space, those 2 yarn tails over the top, pull the yarn up and pull through 2. One more time, wrap the yarn, come in, pull up, pull through 2, and that leaves you with 4 loops on the hook. And it's at this point that you will change your yarn color back to your Grinch green and just pull it through like that. All right, so from here we are now going to continue with another 5 single crochet stitches. Have those 2 red yarn tails over the top of the hook, at least for the very first single crochet stitch, just to secure that spike bubble stitch in place. It's not going to go anywhere. So there's 1 spike bubble stitch, the first little foot. Very cute. All right, so we've done 1 single crochet stitch. We have another 4 to go. So there's 2, 3, 4, and here's the 5th. And on this 5th one, again, we will change our yarn color back to red. Pull that through. And from here, we are going to make that spike bubble stitch again. So we're not coming here. We come 1 round below that in the intersection of of that increase, 2 single crochet stitches. Come in here, have the red yarn color. You don't have to have that red yarn color if you didn't pull excess over here. You don't need to have it under the hook, but have the green one over the top of the hook. Pull through and pull through 2. Do it again. Wrap the yarn, pull the yarn up and pull through 2, and one more time, wrap the yarn, insert, pull the yarn up and pull through 2. Change your yarn color now back to Grinch green and pull through all 4 loops. And from here we will make 6 single crochet stitches again, but have the red yarn tail over the top of the hook for at least the first 1 or 2 single crochet stitches. So I've done it for 2. You can keep going if you'd like as well. There's no limit to how many times you weave that red yarn tail in, but you need to do it at least once or twice to be able to secure that spike bubble stitch. And then at the end you can either continue in your spiral or, like me, do the slip stitch and chain 1. And here are the gorgeous little feet. In the next round we are going to have an increase round. So it's going to start off with 2 single crochet stitches. 1, here's the second, and then we will have something called, well, I shouldn't say something called because you already know it, just an increase. So 2 single crochet stitches here, and we're just going to repeat this all the way around. So 2 single crochet stitches, here's that spike bubble stitch at the top, and then an increase. 1, and be careful not to nick this spike bubble stitch as you pull the yarn through. Just be very careful with that. All right, I'm going to let you continue. 2 single crochet stitches, increase all the way around. You have 24 stitches at the end of this round. And for round number 6, we are just going to work 24 single crochet stitches all the way around. Now, before you go, I want to teach you a little bit of a tip / trick to get those stitches even straighter. So when you perform your single crochet stitches, or any stitch for that matter, you're going to pull the yarn through so you've got those 2 loops on the hook. Try to have this loop a little bit tighter than this one. It doesn't have to be too tight, like, and in all honesty, if you forget, that's fine, but this next step is the most important one. As you pull the yarn through, whether that's yarn over, yarn under, you need to have the hook vertical as possible. See how we are pretty much vertical down the line there? That's what you want to do. You want to keep doing that, and so you stop pulling it this way to your right, and instead you're pulling it kind of more that way or up, which keeps those stitches a lot straighter. So look, vertical. And it does take a little bit of muscle memory to have this, I guess, down pat, but that is just a quick tip that I'd like you to try to get those stitches straight, and apply this for any of your amigurumi style plushies as well. So I really hope that helps. All right, so back on it, 24 single crochet stitches for round number 6, and we will stop at the last stitch of this round because we do need to change the yarn color. All right, and here we go. So we're coming into the final stitch of round number 6, pulling up some yarn, and then we will change our yarn color to red. So grab that red colored yarn and pull through, and then you'll come to the very first stitch space. Either continue in your spiral, have the yarn tails both red and green. If you've got a lot of excess in red, have that red over the top so you can secure it in place for the next stitch at least. So have these on top of the hook. I feel like I've got a little bit extra there, so I'm going to repeat that. So come underneath here, pull through, slip stitch, and chain 1. All right, so we are up to round number 7 now, and in round number 7 we are going to be working in the back loops. Can you see these back loops? We've got a front loop here and we've got a back loop at the back, front and back, and we are going to only work in these back loops. So no longer go into the front and back, just the back. Hope that makes sense. All right, so we need to do the following. It's not super easy, especially if you're a beginner, but we can understand this together, one step at a time. All right, so here we go. We're going to start off with 2 single crochet stitches in the back loops only. Here's my number 2. And then we need to work a decrease, but it is a type of decrease that we call single crochet 2 together, and it's in the back loops. All right, single crochet 2 together in the back loop. So insert your hook into the first back loop, pull the yarn up, insert your hook into the next back loop stitch, and pull the yarn up. We have 3 loops on the hook, and this is where you pull the yarn through all 3 loops on the hook. That is a type of decrease that we call single crochet 2 together, but in our case we're working that single crochet 2 together, or type of decrease, in the back loops only. And this here is what I want you to repeat a total of 6 times. So I'll show you one more time. Single crochet stitch first, single crochet stitch second, followed by single crochet 2 together in those back loops. Pull up the yarn in the back loop, insert in back loop, pull up in the back loop, and 3 loops on the hook. Now yarn goes through all 3, and there we go. Keep those stitches straight as well. Repeat this another 4 times. You will have 18 stitches at the end of this round. All right, so we just finished that round right there, and now from here we have 18 stitches, and we want to complete 18 single crochet stitches for the next 2 rounds, and that's it, and that will all be in red. Keep those stitches straight. 18 stitches for the next 2 rounds. And we are now up to round 10. Now round 10 includes some color changes plus some spike bubble stitches. So let us begin. We'll start off with 4 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th. Now with the 4th we will change our yarn color to Grinch green. So grab that Grinch green colored green and pull through. Give that red yarn tail a little bit of a tug. We're going to weave this in for the next stitch, which is a spike bubble stitch. So we're not coming here, we're coming right here, and we need to wrap the yarn first. Don't have this loop too loose, make sure it's tight. or not too tight either, but you don't want it like super loose, because sometimes as you wrap this you kind of pull, so just be careful of that. So wrap the yarn first, come into the spike section down here, have the red yarn tail over the top of the hook, pull up the yarn and pull through 2, and again wrap the yarn, pull up and pull through 2, one more time, wrap the yarn, pull up and pull through 2. Change your yarn color back to red, where we will now continue with 7 single crochet stitches, and the first one having that green yarn tail over the top of the hook. So there's 1, and we can continue now all the way till we finish the 7th. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's the 7th. Now if you did crochet in a spiral and your stitches are a little bit this way, and maybe if not, you may have to change the positioning of where these spike bubble stitches go. You kind of want them close to the legs but on the outer side of it. Just keep it nice and even. So for us, for anyone that crocheted in a slip stitch in chain 1, we are going to change our yarn color now to green. Leave a bit of a yarn tail. You don't want to have this too tight. You want it stretched out, so this yarn tail needs to be slacked enough to be able to incorporate it. So I'm going to weave that in for the first, I guess for this spike bubble stitch that we're doing, because there's enough there. That's why I left a little bit of yarn slack. So wrap the yarn first, come down to the spike section, not here but here, have that green yarn tail over the top of the hook if you've got enough slack there, pull through 2, and just repeat. Pull up, pull through 2, wrap the yarn, come in, pull up and pull through 2, not 3, 2. You've got 4 loops on the hook at this very moment. You're going to grab that red colored yarn, you're going to pull it through all 4 loops on your hook. And then from here you will have 5 single crochet stitches to go, but for the very first one, have your green colored yarn over the top of the hook. 1, and you can either continue having this over the top of the hook or not. Just at least for the first 1, 2, that should be enough. 3, I'm just going to weave it a few more times because I kind of want it to the center because we will be using it later on. Okay, and we're up to, so we've made 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th single crochet stitch in red on this round number 10, and this is the point at which we are going to change our yarn color to white. So grab your white or your cream white colored yarn and weave it through those 2 loops on the hook, and then give that red yarn tail a little bit of a tug there if you see these start to loosen, and then come to the very first stitch space, have the red and white over the top of hook, make the slip stitch, or as I keep saying, continue in a spiral as well. All right, so we're up to the next section here. So for round number 11, super simple. We are working some decreases as well, but it's not the same type of decrease we did down here. So I'm going to teach you this. So you're going to start off with a single crochet stitch first, followed by something called an invisible decrease. This is where you insert the hook in the front loop, and then you insert the hook directly into the next front loop of the next stitch as well. So we've got 2 front loops on the hook at this very point. Then we will pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through again. So we have just created an invisible decrease where these 2 stitches are now into 1. And I want you to repeat this all the way around. Single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease, front loop again, pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through, and again. So single crochet stitch first, front loop, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through. So repeat that another 3 times. You will have 12 stitches after the end of round number 11. So we are currently at the end of round number 11 here. You want to work this last invisible decrease, pull the white yarn through, and then to finish off this last stitch, you're going to grab your green colored yarn. Try not to get tangled up. You can even chop off the red yarn at this point because we don't need it anymore, and then just weave that green yarn through those 2 white loops on the hook, and then either continue in your spiral or, like me, slip stitch. And make sure all of the yarn is on the hook. I kind of missed some there. So I'll do that again. So as I'm coming into this first space, I'm going to have the white yarn and perhaps the green if I had enough yarn slack. If not, then we don't need to do that. So white yarn goes over the top, and I just want to, for some reason I'm not getting a good grip on this, so pull this first and then slip stitch, chain one. Okay, done. So now in this next round, first of all, chop off your red yarn tail. You do not need that anymore, and you don't want it to get in the way either. Okay, so for this round you are working only in the back loops, just those back loops of the round, and you're going to start off with a single crochet stitch, keep those stitches straight, followed by back loop again, increase, 1, back loop in the same stitch space, and there we go. That's the end of the increase right there. Be careful not to nick some of this arm. Sometimes I do that. You probably see me in other tutorial videos accidentally do that. It's not the worst thing in the world, but see like how I'm coming up here, you can easily nick this, so just be very careful. So single crochet stitch first in the back loop, followed by an increase, 1, and here's the second one, number 2. So continue that all the way around in green. You can even chop off your white yarn tail now because you don't need it, and it should be woven in at this point. Continue all the way around, just working in green, and you will have 18 stitches at the end of this round. We've just finished our last increase here in this round, and from here I want you, regardless of whether you're advanced, beginner, intermediate crocheter, you are going to crochet in a spiral from this point. So use a stitch marker now, and as we work into the very first stitch of the previous round, it now becomes the first stitch of the next round. So this here is my first stitch. Use a stitch marker if you need to track these stitches. So for this round we are going to do the following. Start off with 2 single crochet stitches, 1, here's the second, and then we want to create 3 increases in a row. So here's the first increase. In the next stitch space we have another increase, the second increase, and then in the next stitch space you will work the third increase. So that's 3 increases in a row just there. Then you will separate this by 7 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, keep these stitches straight guys, 3, remember vertical hook, 4, oh, you can see I accidentally nicked it, it's not the end of the world, 5, but just be careful, 6, and here is the 7th single crochet stitch, followed by 3 increases again, 1, that's the first increase, here's the second increase, and here is the third increase, 1 and 2, and you should be left with 3 single crochet stitches at the end here. Remember, you are crocheting in a spiral now, 1, 2, and here's the last one, number 3. All right, so coming in here is the first stitch of the next round, so don't forget to mark that with a stitch marker if you'd like to as well. For rounds numbers 14 and 15, that's the next 2 rounds, you will just make 24 single crochet stitches. Don't forget, again, use that stitch marker if you want to keep track of your stitches. So this is my 3rd, 4th, and count them along as you'd like, but the next 2 rounds are 24 single crochet stitches. Don't miss a stitch whatever you do. Make sure you're counting 24 in each round for the next 2 rounds. Okay, so we finished those 2 rounds. Now for the next round, this is round number 16, I do believe. So for round number 16, you're going to do exactly the opposite of what you did 2 rounds previous. So remember, we did 2 single crochet stitches, 3 increases, 7 single crochet stitches, 3 increases, and finishing off with 3 single crochet stitches. So you're doing exactly that, but all those increases now become invisible decreases. So start off with your 2 single crochet stitches first. Now if you did something different, just do the opposite of that. So 2 single crochet stitches followed by 3 invisible decreases. And again, one more time just to show you, invisible decrease, front loop again, yarn through, yarn through. Finish now with 7 single crochet stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's the 7th. And then we have decreases again. 1, you'll have 3 of them in total. Here's number 2, and here is number 3. And then finish off with 3 single crochet stitches, 2 and 3, and now you have finished this round, and you also have 18 stitches in that round. And can you see how we've started to make those little cheeks? That's the widest portion of the head. And for the next 3 rounds now, this is round 17, 18, and 19, you're just working 18 single crochet stitches. Use your stitch marker to keep an eye of the stitch number. So 3 rounds, 18 single crochet stitches. So after those 2 rounds, and yes, it was 2, not 3, sorry, you're going to start off with a single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease. And again, single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease, front loop, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through. And you're going to repeat this all the way around. Single crochet, followed by invisible decrease. This is the 3rd time. Here's the 4th, single, invisible decrease. The 5th, single, invisible decrease. And we have 1 more to go after this. Single first, followed by invisible decrease to finish this off. Now you have 12 stitches now in the round, and we are going to crochet another. For this next round, we're going to just crochet 12 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget, you can pause this video at any point. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more to go, 11, and final one over here, 12. Now, I'm going to pull the yarn through. I hope you don't say or feel that it's difficult to insert the eyes at this point. If you do, take away 1 round and then insert them. Completely up to you how you want to do that there. But this is what we're looking like so far, and it's time to add the eyes and then finish off our final round after adding fiber filling. Okay, so we have inserted 6mm black safety eyes between round 16 here and 17. So they're kind of in between those 2 rounds, 16 and 17. It does seem high up, but it's not after you create the nose and you embroider the mouth and the eyebrows later on. So Grinch never really looks like Grinch until you've completed the entire thing. So 16 and 17, eyes between those rounds. Bring them close together. There should be about maybe 2 stitch spaces and a tiny bit, but at least 2 stitch spaces between the eyes. Don't have them too far apart either, because they need to be close together, and you want the nose in the middle of that. Okay, so once you've got this, don't forget to have the eye backing section as well. Can you see that little clip there that just clips on? Feel free. You need to do that to secure your eyes. Now, if you wanted to embroider your own eyes, feel free to do so as well. Just use some black yarn and then just weave in and out of the stitch spaces until you've created those eyes. Okay, we now need to add some fiber filling. So we're going to do this layer by layer, small layers at a time. You're going to grab that fiber filling, push it in, and use a pair of cutters to really condense it down to the bottom. And you just want to keep doing this all the way until you've filled it up all the way to the top, layer by layer. And again, small layers at a time, because you want to compress and get rid of all the air pockets as best you can and fill up your Grinch character as best as possible in all the little sections. You don't want any air spaces all around. Keep it nice and condensed, compressed in there, and we'll see you right at the top here, ready for our last round. I also just want to say, as you get to the head portion, start to accentuate those cheeks where those increases were that were on the side. You kind of want to accentuate them, so kind of push the yarn into those spaces and push a little bit harder as well to just accentuate those areas where you're supposed to see the width. All right, keep going. And finally, the last round here, so we've filled this all up with fiber filling and we're up to the last round. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to create 5 invisible decreases. So here's number 1, number 2, and you might be thinking, why not 6? We have 12 stitches. Trust me, 5 is more than enough, so that you can have enough of a gap at the top to be able to weave in and leave no bumps. So here's number 4, and finally number 5. Now if I see how small it is already, if I did another decrease to make this even, this would be too small. So once you pull all of this together, it creates lots of bumps. But what we'll do instead is create a slip stitch in the next stitch space to kind of even things out, and then pull the yarn through and leave yourselves about a good 15 centimeter yarn tail. Okay, push those eyes as in as you can. And probably next time I could move these over a little bit, but it's fine. All right, so from here, I'm kind of just pressing it so I can get that spacing. I've pulled out the cheeks. The body is a little bit tabby. It so ended up that my green yarn was a little bit thinner than my red. Sometimes that happens even though it's the same yarn type, but some yarn types just end up thicker. So this is what it's ended up looking like. But in future, if these were the exact same, the green would look a lot bigger than what the red does here. In any case, we are going to finish up now and close this circle up the top. You want your leather needle, you want to weave the yarn tail through that leather needle. Then you're coming into the front loops of all the remaining stitches, of which there should be 7. And remember, it's just those front loops that you want to work through. So this is my 3rd one. You don't need to pull just yet, just work through them. 4, 5, 6. Here's the 7th. And then you want to pull all of this in a clockwise direction. Pull, pull, pull. Now, if we did 6 decreases, there would be a bump over here because it just wouldn't be, we'd have too many decreases there and too many stitches. But this is looking great. Then you want to insert your yarn needle right into the center here and come out anywhere in the face. Doesn't matter where. And then give it a pull, 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 pull until you've closed that center. Nice. Done. It's nice and flat now, which is fantastic. And then from here you are going to weave this across the diagonal of the stitch, so from here to here, and you're going to repeat this technique a few times. Pull, 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 and you can see, you can't even see where I've woven it in. So let's do it again. From here I can see this diagonal, so I'm going to follow that lining and just repeat. Here I'm going to do it again, following that diagonal. Here, over here. And I might just do one more at the end here if I've got enough yarn tail. Come down perhaps at the bottom, or you could come at the top of the face. Depends what you want to do. Just somewhere where there's green. Again, you don't need to pull too tight either over here. And then you're going to use your yarn cutters and just give it a chop. And there we go. That is the finished look of the body. But now we have to do the lining. Remember, this is what makes our Grinch character kind of come to life. So let's do that now. So here is your Grinch character. You're going to turn him upside down. Let's have a look at the back of our Grinch upside down. And then you're just going to insert your hook into the very first, technically this is the last if you had it this way around, but we'll call it the first front loop of this round right here. And it's written down below. And then you're going to use some white colored yarn and pull the white colored yarn through, just like that. You've got your yarn tail over here. Now give yourselves a chain 1. That's ready to begin now. And you're going to work the following, starting in the same front loop. So you've got 3 single crochet stitches first. 1, 2, and then from here you're going to, oh, by the way, you were meant to weave in this yarn tail as you go, just for a first couple of stitches. And then from here you're going to go into the next front loop and work an increase. 1, and the second single crochet stitch of that increase. So you can see we've got 3 single crochet stitches plus an increase, and you are going to repeat that pattern all the way around. I don't need to weave this in anymore, we've done it enough. So there should be at the end of this round 30 single crochet stitches, 30 in total, and you're just repeating the 3 single crochet stitches followed by an increase all the way around. There should be a total of 6 times. Here's the increase right here for the second time. Alright, so continue that, guys, all the way around. You can also chop off this yarn tail here at this point. Give it a little bit of a pull and then chop it right close to the edge, and continue all the way around, slip stitch and pull the yarn through, and we'll chop the yarn off at the end. So I've made the slip stitch here, and I'm pulling the yarn through just as if I were to chain one, and I'm just going to chop myself about maybe like 7 centimeters worth. And what you can do with this is, first of all, push this down as best as possible, and then here you can either weave this into the back ends or you can pull it straight in. So for example, I might weave it here and then come in, so I'll demonstrate that now. So see here, I've kind of woven in the back stitches here, and then I'm going directly into the back portion here, not down here but right underneath the white, and that way I just keep it woven in there. And there we go, pull through, pull through, pull through, just like that. And then we are going to chop the yarn to completely finish that off. All right, so that's the first section for the base here, and now we need to do the top section. Okay, so for the top lining, you also need to find those front loops. Turn your Grinch upside down, then enter the hook through the back center front loop. It's just a good place to start. And then you're going to pull the yarn through, just like that. Chain one, and from here work a single crochet stitch. Single crochet stitch right here. Whoops. There we go. Then you chain one again, and then come into the next front loop and have that yarn tail over the top of the hook just to weave it in a few times. Single crochet stitch. Then chain one again, come into the next front loop, yarn tail over the top of the hook, single crochet stitch here, chain one, and you're just going to repeat that. Chain one, single crochet stitch all the way around. I've worked all the way around now. And now I want to insert my hook in the very first stitch space, pull the yarn through, and just make a slip stitch to connect those together. And then from there, you're going to pull the yarn through, leave yourselves about a 5-7 centimeter yarn tail, just like we did for the bottom half. Then with this, you're going to chop this away because we've woven this in. Push that arm in. I'll cut a little bit of it. Because we had some fuzzies. Okay, and then in the same way, you're going to weave this just like you did with the bottom portion. So you come in a little bit to this side and then come straight in. And this is now what we are looking like with the white lining done for the quote-unquote coat. And now there is just some embroidery left. This is the section that for beginners, this will be a nice way to begin. So let's get started with the embroidery. Let's start with maybe the nose. We are going to have the nose come between the eyes. So I'm going to say it's going to come across 2 stitch spaces. So maybe from here to at least about here. Now we can see that this is a bit closer to this eye than this is to this eye. So there's nothing we can do about that, except if you have a sharp leather needle, you can work in and out of spaces that aren't just these stitch spaces. Sometimes you can work right in the center there, or like closer to the eye. So if you can do that, feel free to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to work across those 2 stitch spaces. And I'm just going to start just like this. I'll weave in from here, come out where I want to, where the nose actually is going to be positioned, leave a bit of a yarn tail over here, and then I'm going to come directly. What I'll do, instead of coming directly across, because that's going to be done anyway, we are going to go down 2 stitch spaces, 1, 2, and across 1 right here. This is where we're inserting the yarn, and then we'll come out where we originally intended to come out, so coming like that. And then we'll come straight back into this middle section over here, and we are just going to keep working. Now you can see I've come through the middle there, and that's exactly what you want to do. We're just going to keep working across all of this until we fill it in. So there's always that one center point at the bottom, followed by all of these little places at the top. And you can see how I've come out here, and this time I'm going to wrap this around the side, and that just spreads it out a little bit more so it looks a little bit more even. Now again, your stitch spacing may be a tiny bit different to mine, but in any case, that is how you want to work it. So I'm going to have my finger over here so I can hold it, and it's formed right at the side there, which is fantastic. And then we're just going to have this one not come on the side but further around, so I've got to hold my finger there as I push this through, and then I'm going to come up to a portion of the center as well. So again, holding it, and just let it be placed right there. Okay, we're still gonna go, still crocheting, and this time I'm coming a little bit towards the inner portion of that final stitch on the side there, and I'm just going to kind of direct my yarn where I want it to go. And this one is probably one of the last ones, and then I'm going to show you something right at the end, and this kind of just brings it all together just a little bit better to make that nose a little bit more narrow. Of course, you could just keep it like this as well, like there's no issues here. But what I'm going to do is, since I've come at the corner here, I'm going to weave right underneath all of this at the top here. And that just helps to narrow it out. You can see it just narrowed it out just like that. And then we'll come straight back here and have the yarn tail come straight into this stitch space, and we're just going to leave it there for the moment. We have enough yarn at this point where we could continue with the eyebrows, but I don't want to do the eyebrows just yet, so we're just going to leave this here for now. But there, in any case, is the nose. Guys, well done. That is the nose. We are going to embroider the eyes at this point, and we're only doing like a semicircle from the top to the bottom, but you definitely need a sharp needle so you can get in those stitch spaces. I'm going to start from the top here. It doesn't really matter where you begin, but you just want to end up very close to the eye and at the top point of that eye. Leave a yarn tail as always. Wrap this around so you've got a semicircle, and you're coming to the bottom over here. And then from there, and you can even do a little bit more than a semicircle if you wanted to as well. And I'm going to come, you can see I'm kind of weaving it here, but I'm coming at the corner, and I'll show you exactly why I'm doing this. So I'm going to push, or pull, sorry, push. And then I'm coming straight back in, but like around the yarn. And this just fully secures those eyes. And I'm going to come out this way just because I've got the backing portion of the eye over there, which is a little bit difficult to navigate through. But there is one of my eyes right here, and we'll do the exact same for the other eye. Coming over here, let's work at the top space, and actually I might just come over here first to make it easier for myself. So let's try and navigate towards the very top portion of the eye, so maybe somewhere around here, just like that. And we're going all the way around till we've made that semicircle, and I'll come straight back down here. Sometimes you can't push in directly straight because I've got the backing of the eye, so I'm kind of coming towards the side. So I'm like tilting that needle towards the side, so it's like further, instead of straight down, we've got to kind of curved it up a little bit to get past all of that. And because I couldn't directly get to this point, I'm just going to go out somewhere where I can. But before I fully tighten this off, I'm going to now have my needle, and I don't want it there. I need it somewhere there. Yeah. Can you see that? Come right there. It's as close to the eye as possible. We keep pulling this, pull, till we've got that nice and secure, and then we'll work this straight underneath as well. And you do need that side technique again. Don't go directly down because there's something there and it's difficult to maneuver past it, and you don't want to open that eye as well. Okay, I'm coming back to where my yarn tail is at this end, and I can't, let's see, just got to navigate it a little bit better. Over here, is this in the same stitch space? Yes, it is. So now we are going to tie these two in a double knot. Pull a little bit harder on that second knot of the double knot, and then chop the excess yarn. Grab your yarn needle, throw away the excess yarn, or keep it. I sometimes like to stuff bodies with excess yarn. And then just push that into the head to hide. And there we go, guys. So this is the eye complete for Mr. Grinch. And it's nice and secured now as well with these yarn overlapping this point. All right, so now I think we can continue with the eyebrows. I have just pinned this. Now you do not need to do this, but I'm kind of pinning these eyebrows where I'm starting here. I'm kind of working one stitch space across, and I haven't even worked in a stitch space over here. I'm going to come right in this section as best as I can. And then I'm coming here one stitch space across, which actually ends up being halfway in between these stitches, and then a little bit across there. Same with this side. All right, so we do need to do this as well as we can now. Let us weave our yarn needle into where those pins are. And again, you don't need to have the pins, it's just a reference point to help you see it for this tutorial video. I usually don't have pins for doing this, but again, personal preference. Okay, and then we're going to take this one out. I'm going to come right here, or actually, yes, I'm just going to do that. I was thinking of something else, but I want to keep this simple. Keep it simple. We're going to do something at the end of this anyway, which will blow your minds. Not really. But it will help you understand how to make it look more seamless at the end. Come here where this pin is. We're doing so well, guys. Come straight in that same stitch space, and we can come anywhere wherever these pins are. Pop out over here, give that a little bit of a pull, take away that yarn tail. Now it seems like this one is a little bit longer, but that's okay. Come over here, take out this one, work in here, and back up here. All right. So this is giving us a little bit of an idea for how these eyebrows are going to look. That's just the preliminary base section. Now, what we need to do is I'm going to start from the very bottom of one of my eyebrows. Just pick one and start at the bottom, right where you inserted that yarn in the very first place. Oh no, did we do something wrong? Yes, we did. I went in the wrong section. Whoopsie. Let's do it again. Where did I come out? Oh, so I've got to come back over here. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, I trapped my yarn. Whoops. So I'm going to chop it because I don't know what I did. And now we're just going to keep going. I'm going to end up using this yarn tail anyway and tie it to something. So that was just an accident by me. Instead of going through the same stitch space, I went somewhere else and I wasn't paying attention. So let us again, but it's good. You can see these mistakes so you can correct them, right? That's what we want to do. We got to learn. So I'm going to come through here. I'll end up tying these two yarn tails together. And once I'm finished, I will tie this yarn tail and this one together. So it just works out. Now, this is the thing I wanted to show you. You are going to weave your needle through the eyebrow lining all the way up your eyebrow. You can see I'm just weaving in and out, kind of working this diagonal. And at the end of this, you shouldn't be able to see that little bit of the area where you turned. And that's what we want. And this is what you should do with all your eyebrows for any amigurumi doll. It's like you're working along it using this weaving in and out around your lining. And then that is all. We'll do the exact same for the second eyebrow. But look at that. We've got some definition over here. We are looking fantastic. And that's exactly what we wanted. And we'll do the exact same for this one. So we're just going to weave in and out in the same way. One. And you can kind of direct it as well. You don't want everything laying on top of each other, just going up and up just a little bit more each time. So I kind of did 3 weaving in and out on the first section to where then I go straight across to this next point, keeping it close. there. And I'll do another 3 at the top here. 2, 1 more to finish this off. Try not to get the Grinch green colored yarn involved. But it's not the end of the world if that ends up happening anyway. And I'm going to have this yarn tail come over here. Alright, we've got 2 eyebrows there. Look at that. Tie these together in a double knot, cut, and hide in the body. I'm not going to show you that because we've already done it. It is time now to start the black eyelashes and mouth. Get your 4-ply cotton yarn, chop about a 40 centimeter tail, and you'll see it's made of 4 strands. If you had 5-ply, it's made of 5 strands. This can only work with cotton yarn. If you worked with acrylic, you can't do this, so I would suggest buying some thread and putting pieces together until you get a thickness that is desirable for you. Pull 1 strand apart. This is what a lot of people do, by the way, when they're working with cotton yarn. Now, if you had plush yarn and you made a bigger project, you could just use the 4-ply cotton yarn anyway. You wouldn't even need to take a strand out because it would be small enough. So just get creative. Just work around it. Okay. Grab your yarn needle. And this time, if you had a smaller needle, I would recommend using a smaller needle. But if you don't, just use your leather/sewing needle anyway. And I'm going to weave this through. Did that look like it went through? Because it didn't. Okay, we actually wove it through this time. Let us start maybe with the eyelashes closest to us. So let's do that. Just be very careful with your small needle that you don't come into a weird area, because then when you tie it together in a double knot, it needs to be in the same stitch space. So I'm coming very cautiously into this stitch space because I'm going to come out of it right at the end. And then I'm going to work at this point here to start my eyelash. You can see with a small leather needle, with a small needle, leather needle, sewing needle, whatever, you can get very close to where you want, and you can go in any stitch space as well, which is super fantastic. I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to start creating the eyebrow. So I'll maybe come across like 1.5 stitch spaces, and then I'm going to actually don't need to do that. I could just come across like 4 stitch spaces, then work 1 up. This will be easier for you to understand anyway. So it's like the long eyebrow point, and then we'll just come back in on the diagonal and just come in. And we'll do the exact same for the other eyelash. So let's get this here, get this out of the way. Pull, 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 pull. Gorgeous. Do the same for the other one. You're coming across a good maybe like 4 stitch spaces. Did we do this right? Yes, we did. Come up 1 step. When I say step, you know I mean stitch space, I hope. But it's clarified there in case. Oops, we went, oh no, we did. It's just my yarn was around and I didn't want that. It just had to come straight. And then we come back on the diagonal. And I'm just going to pop out this yarn needle somewhere where I can come back into it without, just get into a space that you know you can head back into without creating any knots. So again, here's the second one. There we go. We've got some great eyelashes right there for Mr. Grinchies. Now we need to do the following. Come at the very center point of the nose. The very center point of the nose. And you're going to work straight down to the bottom here. Just straight down. Now let's have a look at this. We have sort of a mouth section, and perhaps I can, no, I'm not going to pin it. We're just going to do it 1 step at a time. So coming right down here, and then I'm going to work my needle 1, 2, 3, 4 rows across to my left and up 1. That forms the straight line. Then I'm going to come back here. Okay, I'll come back to the center. And then I'm also going to come back to this point up here. Just do 1 at a time, remember? Pull it up like that. Okay, and now I want to finish it up where I want to come, I could come across 2 stitch spaces, up, 1, 2, and then either, no, let's go 2 stitch spaces as well. 2 by 2. I think that is what we should do. So let us do that, and then we're going to come straight back down to that very middle intersection point. Beautiful. So we've got one side of the mouth done, and we'll just do exactly that. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2 by 2, just make sure it is 2 by 2 and you're not going further across there. I hope you know what I mean by 2 by 2, across 2, up 2, come back down, and that will be the end of all the black lining now. Actually, so that's it. That's all of the face embroidery done. Guys, you did it. We just have one last thing to go. So there's our Grinch face. Actually, that's brilliant, no? Tie these 2 yarn tails together. Once, twice, and by the way, the whole going across 4 up to 2 by 2, that's just a guide. If that's not what you want to do and you want to do something different, absolutely feel free to do that. This is just a guide, remember. Sometimes like I'll do it differently as well, like every time. It's not always going to be the same, but it's like a rough guide so you can get an idea of how to do it. All right, so there is our mouth piece or section at this point. Now what I could have done as well is, instead of coming here, I could have brought that a little bit more to the side, but I'm just gonna leave it like that. I think it is good enough. Beautiful. One last thing to go. 1, 2, and 3. Let's do that together. Chop up some green cotton yarn. Okay, and now you're just going to fold it once. So you've got about, well, how many? This is like 10 centimeters worth. You're gonna fold it. How much is that? That's probably enough, but maybe let's just try one more, shall we? So 4 times we have folded this. Chop, chop, chop. Make sure you've got these straight lines everywhere. Doesn't have to be perfect, again. Now we've got 4 of these. All right, and if you can, if you feel like you have enough, because what we need to end up doing is basically folding this and weaving all of this through. So you've got 4 yarn tails here. But if you can, because you're going to do this every time, so I'm just going to chop right in the middle there, and that will be for 1, and this will be for 1, and then we'll have 1 more later at the end. Now where you want to enter your hook, okay, it's going to be very much on the sides of the cheeks, and it's going to be 1 round below the eye. So here's the base of the eye right here, and that's where we are going to go. Now if you feel like it should go elsewhere, feel free to do so. We're going to start off with this cheek section here. Now weaving 4 yarns through could be tough. So you may want to weave 2 at a time or 1 at a time, up to you. But essentially you got to get all of these through. Pull, 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 pull. I'm hoping I can do it. Got him. And now this is the trickiest part. You might want to do it one at a time. You've got to pull all of these yarn tails through the loop on the hook. It's like essentially chaining 1. So sometimes you want a bigger hook. But the thing is, you can't have a bigger hook because your stitches are only certain. Your stitches are only a certain size, and so you don't want to stretch them out. I think we got it. We may have missed a couple. So I'm going to go back in here and just weave these 3, which should be a lot easier. Yay, we did it! Okay, so there's 1. 1 is beautiful. We're going to do the other one around here. We could have brought them a little bit closer. I could have even gone like 1 stitch space here. But again, like, this is just a guide. Now when you come to cutting it, may as well cut it right now. Keep it like this, and you want it to sort of form a point, okay? And you don't want this too big either. So chop, first point, and then finish off the point. It's always best to keep strands a little bit long so you can readjust them towards the end. Get yourselves a good pair of cutters as well as you're doing this. There we go. You can kind of brush it out as you'd like. You can have it a little bit longer if you'd like as well. But essentially that's it. You're going to do the same for the top, right in the center here, and one more on the side. So I'm going to let you guys do that because you've seen the technique now. You're just going to keep that technique and create the other two. And then we'll come back at the end. And there we go. So this is the finished product. Stitch is looking fantastic. So we've got 2 stitches here. Again, just because of the difference in the yarn size, we had a little bit of a difference in the face size as well. You can see my red yarn color is quite thick compared to the green one here, and it's like perfectly even here. So it just really depends on the batch type that you get. So not all yarns are the same thickness, even though it's from the same company, it's the same product. Kind of strange, but anyways, that's just luck of the draw sometimes. All right, but we have finished with these, which looks fantastic. Now if you wanted to add a yarn chain or a keychain, you just, if you're adding a keychain, just add it at the back here, just right at the back here. If you're adding a yarn chain, do exactly the same thing. So what you'd do is you'd put your needle in right at the back. You'd come sort of here across one stitch space or one further up if you can sort of get in there a little bit, but come across the side. So you start on this side, chain 50 to 60. I recommend about 60, so let's say chain 60, and then you want to keep it nice and straight as you loop it across. And then as you come back in to slip stitch it, you come from the opposite side, so from this end to this end this time, to then bring your yarn through, slip stitch, pull the yarn through, cut it, tie those 2 yarn tail ends and weave them through into the head to completely hide them. And that's it. That is literally it. So there we go, guys. That is the final product of Mr. Grinch. Fantastic result, and I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one. Get these prepared ready for Christmas and tag me on Instagram if you've made them, because I'd love to see your finished product. And also don't forget, again, one more time, subscribe. Help me reach 100k subscribers. I've got so many tutorials coming out for you, so I need your help. And the sooner we get to 100k subscribers, I am going to be releasing all scheduled tutorials in one go, so that's some incentive for you guys. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks so much. Bye.